Welcome back. Let's continue from where we left off. Okay, now I actually want to use the sharpen filter, so I'll just click on this cross here to clear my search field and then type in sharpen. Unfortunately, there are quite a few different sharpen filters, so I have to know which one I want. Well, that's fine because I know it's this one in the blur and sharpen category, this one called sharpen. I'll left click on it and I'll drag it over and drop it on video track 1 onto clip number 70 there. As a consequence of this, in the Effect Controls panel, we now see this sharpen filter has been added, ready for us to adjust it as necessary, because with this type of effect, it's been brought in, but without the effect being applied. We have to now apply it. In this case, how much sharpening do we want to impose on this video clip? What I could do is left click here where it says 0 at the moment, and I could drag to the right. Alternatively, clicking on this twirl arrow here reveals this slider just below. So I can left click on the slider and drag it to the right until I see the right amount of sharpening for my eye. I'll take it to its extreme. And so now, with our reset parameter button, this will work. As you can see now, if I click on it, that drag slider that we've just moved right across to the right has now reverted back to its neutral position of 0, i.e. no sharpening is taking effect. As I say, alternatively, left click on the number here and drag to the right if you prefer to do it that way. Irrespective of which way you do it, this reset button is going to work exactly the same way, as we would expect. Okay, now I want to keep this sharpen effect in place, so I am going to leave it there. I'll just close it down out of view a little bit, so we've got some more space within the Effect Controls panel. And I'm doing this because I want to show you how we stack effects. With that sharpening effect already in place, we've not deleted it, we've not removed it, have we? Although I've left it at 0, I could do with adding some in, but for the moment I'll leave it as it is. For our purposes it is still working, it's in place. So I want to add in another effect on top of this effect, and I've used that phrase on purpose, on top of our effect, because that's what we're doing. We are stacking effects. Whatever we place first will filter in that way, and then whatever we do again will filter not the original video, but the video with what we've just done with filter number 1. So for the example with the black and white filter, if we add that monochrome filter first of all, and then we add some blur, what we are doing is blurring the black and white version. We're not blurring the color version and then adding black and white. The stacking order is whatever we place first occurs first, and then our next filter modifies further from that point. Anyway, let's add another filter. I'll clear my search field. I actually want to use a filter called three-way color corrector. So you would imagine I could simply type in my search field here, 3, the number there, but unfortunately I don't seem able to find the particular filter that I want to use. As you can see, the only filter that reveals is that one in perspective, basic 3D. Well, that's because I've used the number rather than the word 3, and that's really important. This search field operates exactly. So because the filter I want uses the word 3 and not the number 3, it can't find it. So no matter what else I add in here, it really is irrelevant. It's not going to find what I'm looking for. I happen to know it's inside this color correction folder. I'll just scroll down a little. There it is towards the bottom, three-way color corrector. And you can see there we have the word 3 rather than the number. So imagine I didn't know it was there. If I type in the word 3, well, as you can see, fantastic, Premiere Pro now finds it for me. So that means I can left click and drag it over to my clip there on video track 1. Now to be able to access this at this screen size, I need to drag down this panel, and there you will see the three-way color corrector filter is in place. And the way that this Effect Controls panel works is that whatever effect that we've got at the top, well, that gets applied first, and then whatever's below gets applied next. So in this case, sharpen gets applied first and three-way color corrector gets applied second. Therefore, in this example, we are color correcting the sharpened version of our clip. As a quick look at what we can do with this, click on the center dot there and adjust as necessary. Just before I do, notice we don't appear to have a reset button, that revert back button that we saw earlier. That said, there is an overall one, but for individual dials, for shadows, midtones and highlights, notice that as I do adjust, then we get that little reset button just around about 2 o'clock for each of those dials. Which means, of course, if I want to revert back to the default for that dial, I could click on the independent revert buttons. If I wanted to correct them all simultaneously, then there is the main revert button to the right of three-way color corrector. Okay, now I'll just collapse my three-way color corrector out of sight a little bit, and I'll resize these panels once more. Okay, now as a reminder, we've got video track 1 and video track 2, but so far we've disabled our view of video track 2. I'll bring it back into view by selecting here again. As we can see in the program monitor, that takes precedence in terms of visibility. And if I select the clip, then you can see in the Effect Controls panel, there is that black and white filter that we've imposed on it. Now you remember me saying that this black and white filter can't be adjusted. The effect is either on or it's off. The revert button doesn't seem to take any effect. So are we actually stuck with this, with it being on or off? Well, not exactly. We can blend our clip so we get a sort of desaturated look, not completely black and white, but retaining as much of the original colour as we want. I'm going to pause here and I'm going to pick up again in the following tutorial